Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of City Geek Lab, your resource for everything geek. We'll talk movies, TV, comic books, video games, and anything geek. I'm your host, Alan Ing, and coming up on this week's show, the Beauty and the Beast performs at the Orange County Performing Arts Center in Costa Mesa, California. The Oscar nominations were announced today. We'll see how geek movies had done. And we're going to also go to the Long Beach Comic-Con and listen to the Comixology Submit program for independent comic book creators. So up first, let's talk about Beauty and the Beast. The reason I'm bringing up Beauty and the Beast, this show is already over as I'm recording this. But Orange County has a lot to offer when it comes to Broadway caliber shows, and that's especially true over at the Orange County Performing Arts Center, and specifically at the Segerstrom Center, or Art Center for the Arts. That's it. Segerstrom Center for the Arts. I had a chance to take my daughter to see their production of Beauty and the Beast. It's actually Net Productions production of Beauty and the Beast. This is the one that happened, that Disney had put out. First off, let me just say, I saw the Broadway version of Beauty and the Beast when it was over at the Pantages, was it the Pantages? At one of the theaters down in Westwood, and it was basically the Broadway production. Pretty much most of the cast from the original New York production had done this, was in that show. And it was an amazing time. So when I went to see it over at the Orange County Performing Arts Center, I noticed that they didn't quite have the set, the $1 million set that they had. And I realized, it's a traveling show. I'm sure they don't have the Disney dollars, the budget to produce the big production value and the big props to put on a show that rivals the original. And so it didn't rival the original, but it was still nonetheless a really good show. Why? Well, let's start with the foundation. The Oscar-nominated story of Beauty and the Beast still holds up today. When finding love goes beyond physical appearances, but on the quality of a character. The music is probably the best that Alan Menken and Howard Ashman wrote as a team, with songs like Belle, Gaston, and the addition of Human Again, shows off the musical and lyrical brilliance of this songwriting team, whose time was cut way too short. Tim Rice also came in to bring rich emotion to many of the songs that were not written for the original movie. You'll marvel once again at how these songs just really touched the American fabric of the American musical. So once you have this strong foundation of a show, you need a strong cast, and you get that with the leads. From the moment she steps on stage, you believe that Hilary Mayberger is Belle. She has the voice of Belle, and her confidence and maturity draws you to her performance. And it's this maturity that she brings to her performance that causes the character of Belle to stand up above all the other characters in the show. She's the anchor that carries through the show, and everyone is trying to live up to the standard that Belle sets. Derek Peed is also as the Beast, and you see him grow grow and mature as a boy in Beast clothing to a man who ultimately learns to love. Playing the villains, Tim Rogan and Jordan Aragon are Gaston and LeFou, respectively. Their performances are fine. I just felt like maybe it was just a little too over the top, a little too cartoony, which is a choice they made. It just kind of, caught me. Made it noticeable that these guys were playing cartoon characters. And then the other leads, Paul Crane as Maurice, James May as Cogsworth, Hassan Naziri Robati as Lumiere, and Kristen Stewart as Mrs. Potts. They all do an admirable job of bringing their characters to life. Although to say that each made their own roles their own doesn't really apply here. Don't get me wrong, they did all a great job, but each of these characters, from Lumiere to Mrs. Potts, are well defined, not only from the movie, but from the original Broadway play. And Hassan Naziri Robati does manage to recreate the whimsy that Gary Beach brought to the original Broadway production. Really fun play. My daughter had a great time watching it. Finally, what makes this production of Disney's Beauty and the Beast worth seeing is the showstoppers. These fantastic numbers. The opening number of Belle. The fun tavern scene and song of Gaston. The spectacle of pots and plates and silverware dancing and Be Our Guest. And the emotional, hard-hitting Human Again. as each of the characters dream of what it would be like to be a human being once again. Each number is well choreographed, and the number that you'll remember, that I remember from 15 years ago, was the number of Gaston, which was reproduced amazingly in this production. Like I said, the Beauty and the Beast is actually already over. And the reason I bring this up today is, one, is that the Orange County Performing Arts Center continues to put out great performances and shows that are perfect for kids. The prices are good. Rather than paying the $200 to $300 that you would normally spend on a Broadway play, seats start at $29. So it's a really good value for your money. My 6-year-old had a blast. She was dancing and showing off her jazz hands and spirit fingers after each number, or each show-stopping number. And if you're bringing kids, like I did, an hour before the show starts, the kind folks at the Segerstrom Center for the Arts have put together activity stations, which include photo opportunities, a puppet building station, and a library complete with children's books and coloring sheets. Also, they really try to do it up by offering a food fare that is themed toward the show. The Patina Restaurant Group created these themed jelly-filled cupcakes, and my 6-year-old and I had the Red Rose Cupcake. So having said all that, really great time, good affordable price to see live theater, which is very rare in Orange County. And then also the Segerstrom is producing 7 more Broadway quality shows this year, including Chicago, Andrew Lloyd Webber's staging of The Wizard of Oz, Mamma Mia, The Book of Mormon, Jersey Boys, Ghost, and Once. So if you missed Beauty and the Beast this time around, there's more to come. I would especially keep my eye out for Wizard of Oz, maybe the Jersey Boys. I don't know. The rest, if you're into musical theater, this is the place to be, and Orange County has it for all of us. You listen to KTST-FM. I'm Alan Ng, and this is Secret City Geek Lab. And we're continuing on. Oscar nominations were announced this week. Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, was giving those announcements. And as always, geek movies, popular movies that everyone goes out to see, were snubbed for these artsy-fartsy, dramatic productions. I think the closest thing you get to a kind of a geek movie is probably Gravity, but I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that that's really a geek movie. But let's go down the list and see what was notable in the world of geekdom at the Oscars. Despicable Me 2, which got a tepid review here at Secret City Geek Lab. It was nominated for both animated feature and original song. One movie that got really good reviews here at Secret City Geek Lab was Frozen. And again, they were nominated for the exact same things, animated feature and original song Let It Go. And our hope here is that that Frozen wins both of those categories. If you did go to see Frozen at the theaters, you saw the animated short Get a Horse, and that was nominated for animated short. If you remember, if you watch Get a Horse, I hope you realize that was Walt Disney's voice doing the character of Mickey Mouse. Iron Man 3 had 1 nomination, and that was for visual effects. Not necessarily a geek movie, but one that was more interesting, just to say that, hey, Jackass presents Bad Grandpa. That got an Oscar Award nomination for makeup and hairstyling. Saving Mr. Banks got 1 nomination for original score. Star Trek Into Darkness got 1 nomination for visual effects. The geek movie that got the most nominations was The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, which got nominations for sound editing, sound mixing, and visual effects. And then also other movies, Disney's The Lone Ranger, nominated for makeup and hairstyling and visual effects. And The Wind Rises, which was distributed by Disney, but it's a Studio Ghibli movie from Hayao Miyazaki, and that was nominated for animated feature. Some notable snubs. Saving Mr. Banks only got the 1 nomination. Emma Thompson was not even nominated for playing Mrs. Banks. And also Monsters University. Where in the world is Monsters University? You cannot tell me that Despicable Me 2 was a better movie than Monsters University. Shame, shame, shame on the Oscar nomination committee. All right, we're back. This is KTST-FM. I'm Alan, and you're listening to Secret City Geek Lab. Coming up next, we are going back to Long Beach Comic-Con from this summer, and I had a chance to sit in on the Comixology Submit panel. if you're not familiar with Comixology, that is the foremost app for comic books on the internet or on your devices, such as your phone, your iPads, your tablets, on the computer. It's the only way right now that you can have digital copies of popular comic books, especially from Marvel, DC, IDW, and Image. Right now, Comixology is doing something amazing for independent comic book creators. They have made it easier and easier to get your own original work online now and available to the public through Comixology Submit. The cool thing about it is if you create a comic book, submit it to them, it is approved, your comic book will be placed right in front of the public as they, every week, with the day of the launch, your comic book will be up along with titles such as Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, what have you, and your shot of getting people to buy your comics has just gotten that much better. From this panel, we're going to hear from Chip Mosier from Comixology, and we're also going to hear from comic book writer Joshua Hale Fialkov, the writer of Bunker, and he is also the writer of the Ultimate Universe, the Cataclysm, as Galactus has come to eat and destroy the Ultimate Universe. He's going to talk about the pitfalls that you run into when you're trying to let your comic books look professional, and then also give you some ideas on marketing your comics. So here's that panel now.
Yeah, I started self-publishing over a decade ago, and the thing about self-publishing was essentially cost, right? Aside from making the comic, you had to invest a huge amount of money in your print run. You had to, Diamond would send you your invoice for however many copies, and independent comics back then would sell 700 copies or 800 copies, and most printers won't print that few, so suddenly you're printing 4,000 copies, and you sit on them. I have a storage unit filled with books just sitting there that are, hard to find, and I should really put those on the internet.
You should put them on the internet.
And so
that's submitted part two.
So I've been so ever since I was self-publishing, I've been trying to find ways to release stuff without having those barriers. Cost being the primary one, but then you also kind of have market hesitation, and when you're trying to get independent comics into retailers' hands, they're going to choose. If you have a choice between, say, my book, The Bunker, and X-Men, they are going to choose X-Men because they are going to sell 100% of X-Men, and they are not necessarily going to sell 100% of my book. Or they order 2 copies, which is great, but then nobody can find it because it's sold out. And not sold out in the good way. Sellouts are the worst thing that happen in comics. Submit is the first truly legitimate way to get your book into people's hands, where you have a wide swath of the market right in front of you. And they treat the books the same way they treat the Marvel and DC books. So when your comic comes out, it's in the newly released on the front page of the app. You're given the opportunity. You can promote your book in really easy ways to get people to read it the way they're already reading comics. Probably the most interesting part for me that we figured out through the process, we sold through 2 channels. We sold through Comixology, and then we did a DRM-free download on our website. And Chip can correct me, but I believe it was 14 times as many?
Yeah.
We'd sold 14 times as many copies through Comixology as we did through our own website. And much to Chip's chagrin, we always promoted our website first. And even within that...
And I made you put a Comixology link on.
And then, no, but that's the thing. You would go to our website, and you would actually, if you go to whatisthebunker.com or thebunkercomic.com, you'll actually see there's 3 options for every comic. You can either buy it as a PDF, you can buy it as a CBR, or you can buy it on Comixology. And people, literally 14 times as many people have bought it on Comixology. So it's an easy, straightforward way to actually get the work that you're doing in front of people. And it's something that, as someone who's worked in digital comics in one form or another for 12 years, it's something that I've been waiting for.
When the bunker came out, I think that day it was the number 8th top selling comic book of the day. It has been really gratifying to be able to service. The thing that's interesting about Comixology is that for the first when the digital comics part of Comixology debuted in 2009, it was really in conjunction with people like Robert Kirkman and Matt Wagner and Mike Allred, and having individual deals with individual creators, and that was the extent. I think Atomic Robo was like the first book on the platform, and so as deals were made with Marvel and DC, and Comixology moved more towards that way, and then Marvel and DC went same day as print. There was less and less focus on the smaller guys, the smaller creators, the self-publishers, and and that was something that was internally was sort of a bummer for most of the people at the company, and so we really took pains to create this platform with Submit to figure out a way to service the indie self-publisher, in a scalable fashion that actually kept some professional standards. The difference between Submit and some of the other platforms where you can just upload stuff and it's up there is since we have everything in guided view, there's really a fairly high file size requirement for us, and that's been probably the biggest bottleneck, is going back to people and getting PDFs redone, and then making sure it's not someone who's just sort of doing Crayola on a page and and wanting that to be out there. And so it's been an interesting process. We haven't rejected a lot of stuff on the pure content basis, but we have, because it's just not up to professional standards, and we're always debating internally, what does professional standards mean? So it's been an interesting 9 months almost.
Do you do graphic novels, or is it just more floppy size?
Yeah. I mean, one of Bikini. Ivan, how many pages is Bikini Cowboy?
It's like 120.
120. Yeah. I think there's one book that we have that's like 300 pages or something
I
crazy.
saw one that's like 250.
250, yeah. Ivan helps out. He works Comixology, and we promote this. One of the things that we do with the Submit books is not just put them up, right next to everybody else, but we're able to send out review copies to the press and hype them that way also, and Ivan's a big part of that process.
So on the site, is there a difference between stuff that's pro, professional, and indie, or is it all
Nope.
just kind of mixed up together?
Yep. Have you bought anything from Comixology ever before?
I haven't seen kind of that. I haven't really.
Yeah, no, just look at the app. Basically, if you open up the app, you'll see a featured page, and we have what we call feature breaks at the top. Usually, like on Wednesday, we'll have the new releases in a carousel right there. And so if you have a Submit book that's not, we have a lot of people that, I think Roy Thomas, was it Champions? What was his 80s? Like that's coming out through Submit, right? And that's not in the same day as print new releases for that Wednesday, but that'll be in a new and noteworthy, right? And then we have a whole nother section for Submit also.
When you say you debate over professional standards,
Sure.
do you have an idea of? Can you elaborate on that? Or?
Well, the biggest thing, the books that we automatically reject are the ones that are lettered in Comic Sans. So
it's actually like the number one tip, number one pro tip for making comics is hire a letterer. Mm-hmm. Don't do it yourself unless you read Richard Starking's book first and really understand it. But no, lettering is the cheapest part of the process, and it's the thing that actually makes a book look professional.
Yeah. And then it's tough because, when I worked at Boom Studios before Comixology, I helped oversee the indie comics label Boomtown. And we did a book with Daniel Johnston called Space Dogs, which would be considered in the art world outside of art. It's not, the draftsmanship is not refined, let's say, but it had a lot of artistic merit. And so, there's like, is this, someone who's trying to do a superhero book and the draftsmanship is really poor, but everything else is good, like the coloring good, that doesn't really make it through. Whereas like something that is in itself, a piece of art like Space Ducks would get through. So it's an internal debate that we have, and it's something we take really seriously.
Do you determine the pricing on the books? Or
Nope, you do.
Oh, good.
You do.
And it's at least 99 cents?
Yeah. The lowest price you can do is 99 cents.
So I do an all ages indie comic, and I want to get it on Comixology. Is there anything that I can do to like do you guys help with marketing or anything like that?
Yeah. So the marketing stuff that we do is feature the comics with everything else that's coming out. So you're featured on the day that it comes out with all the other new releases. So there's that. It's not like put to the back of the store or anything. And then we send out review copies to, how many reviewers do we have signed up on the review list? About 120?
Actually, we're close to 200 now.
200?
Yeah. 200
reviewers. Sometimes things get reviewed. Sometimes, we don't have time really to go out and when I was at Boom and I had books that I wanted to get reviewed, I would call people and say, hey, Jonah, CBR, review this book. It's like, I don't review books. And I'm like, well, who does? Well, Augie does it. Give it to Augie. Stuff like that. We don't do. You just send a mass email.
That was a very exciting anecdote. I was going to tell you.
I told you. I have a cold. I'm trying to caffeinate.
Here's the truth of comics.
But you need to market your own stuff.
Yeah, the truth of comics is that nobody really helps you. Whether you're published through Diamond, as a print comic, it's your responsibility to tell retailers and to tell readers. It's your responsibility to educate them about the book. But if you're doing something that's special, that gets a foothold, you're gonna find that support. And that's not me talking for them. You find it with the bunker. We found a real wellspring of people who just really responded to what we were doing and the story of why we did it the way we did it and all that stuff, so that we had a support network of people who were just fans. So, and...
Yeah, Joe and Josh were incredibly aggressive on Twitter the day the book came out.
And leading up to it.
And leading up to it, and they had placed articles in the Comics Press online, and so, there was a buzz, coming up.
And it's the miserable part. I'm not saying it's fun. It's the hardest, least fun part of making comics, except maybe the accounting. Those two things, really.
See, and I'm the weirdo that finds that the most exciting part, so...
But no, it's something that you have to do it, and our industry is still small enough that it really is about relationships. It's really about the people that you know and the people that you meet, and coming to places like here and talking to people and showing off your books if you have a table, showing off what you're working on, and just getting to know the community. And we're really lucky because we have Twitter, and again, that didn't exist.
Yeah.
So now, you can tweet to everybody. There's virtually nobody in comics. Brian K. Vaughan. Other than Brian K. Vaughan, pretty much everybody in comics is on Twitter. And we all want to help young people, or new creators. So there's a degree of work you have to do. What Comixology provides is it provides a network. It provides an audience that's just sitting there, but it's up to you to, get it in their hands.
Yeah, at any time during the week we're in the top 10 grossing iPad apps in the entire iTunes App Store. We're usually the top book app in the entire iTunes App Store. That's last time I looked, it was over 250,000 apps. I think it's 400,000 now or something crazy like that. And, we're the number one book app in France. We're consistently the number one book app in Germany. We're consistently the number one book app in the UK. So, there's access to a global audience there, at a push of a button. The thing is, we can only do so much to drive attention to your book. So, you got to meet us at least halfway, maybe a little bit more. Jody, you got any questions?
See, we all know Jody.
We all know Jody.
Because she did exactly. No, it's like she's, you're working. Are you getting paid to write comics yet? Are we there yet? Almost.
Once.
There you go. But Jody's someone who, I met you 4 years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, and she, she's done a really nice job of just being a supportive, active member of the community, of the comics community. There you go. And you can do it. You can just by being yourself and being the passionate, excited person that you theoretically are if you want to make comics. It gets you much further than one would think.
Most definitely.
Well, there's
But once you do a project for lettering or coloring, whatever, do you get that feedback in the rejection, or is it just kind of like a?
Yeah, I mean, if there's way too many problems with it, it's and we really don't see any, then it's a pretty we're not taking this. If it's something where it's like, hey, if you
like the whole book is good except
I mean, in all seriousness, the Comic Sans thing has happened 3 or 4 times, and one guy actually, we gave him the feedback, and he actually hired a letterer and relettered it, and he wrote back and was like, "Oh my God, this book looks 100 times better." It's like, yes, it does, and it's for sale on the bucket.
Yeah, a couple questions. For format, when you submit your artwork, is there one specific format? Like
if you go to the FAQ at the bottom of the submit page, there's a PDF tutorial, and that's just as long as you abide by the PDF, and it's really less about DPI when we're talking about digital than pixel width of the PDF. So if it's over a certain pixel width, then we're cool.
Okay.
There's people like the Bunker, sort of a half-page format, widescreen format, and then then there's regular comic book format.
And there's also the guided,
and then people are doing what we call guided view native, where they're using our guided view tools to do stuff like the Infinite, the DC Square.
Oh, and I was going to ask for so when you actually do send out the royalties, it's like a quarterly kind of thing?
Yeah, it's quarterly. Yeah, it's 45 days after the end of the quarter.
Okay.
So, and if you search Comixology Submit on Twitter, and then you go back, like if we sent out, when did we send out the last statement? It was like a month ago. Yeah, a week or 2 ago. You'll see like, hey, I got my statement. I sold 30 copies. Yay! So pretty gratifying. We're working on we're working slowly but surely on helping people sell more stuff. So, we're going back and forth on an email right now, me and co-founder John D. Roberts, who really leads up the whole Submit team. And, the email is basically like, hey, you've sold less than 10 copies. Here's the link. Here's things to do. You can get on Twitter. Just basically the stuff that we're talking about today. And I have a couple of people that have gotten my email and have bothered me, like, hey, is my book going to be on Submit and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, sure. They're like, oh, great. And I talk to them, and then I'm like, it's coming out this Wednesday. And it's awesome. And then I see their Twitter account. There's no mention of it, nothing. And, it's like, the fallacy is of people thinking that just being on Comixology, they're going to sell hundreds of millions of copies. I mean, there's books that we've put up there that have sold 1 copy. And they've been in the new release list next to that week's Marvel, DC, Image, IDW, Boom, Dynamite, and so if you don't have awareness, there's only so much that's going to happen.
All right, that is the Comixology Submit panel at Long Beach Comic Con. This is just the first, I would say, close to 10 minutes of that panel. It goes on for about 50 minutes. If you want to hear the entire panel, especially if you're an independent comic book creator, go to our website at at YouTube/Secret City Comedy. Also, you can go to our website at secretcitycomedy.com/Geek Lab for more information. And we're back. This is Secret City Geek Lab. I'm Alan Ng, and you listen to Secret City Geek Lab. I keep repeating myself. All right, well, that's it for today. Let's go over a little bit of geek news. Michael Douglas has been announced today that he will be playing Hank Pym in the upcoming Ant-Man movie. The two-time Academy Award-winning actor will join Edgar Wright and Paul Rudd in Marvel's Ant-Man, hitting theaters July 31st, 2015. According to Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, with Hank Pym's rich history in the Marvel Universe, we knew we needed an actor capable of bringing the weight and stature to the role that the character deserves. We felt incredibly relieved when Michael Douglas agreed to step into the part with the charm and fortitude he brings to every character he inhabits, and couldn't be more excited to see what he'll do to bring Hank Pym to life. Marvel also confirmed that Paul Rudd will in fact be playing Scott Lang. If you want to learn more about these characters, Scott Lang is currently part of the FF Future Foundation comic book series, and Hank Pym is involved loosely with the Avengers Academy. Also, coming up at the end of the year, Pixar's only entry into 2014 is the Toy Story That Time Forgot, a new Christmas special featuring your favorite characters. It'll air during the holiday season. During a post-Christmas Day playdate, the Toy Story gang finds themselves in uncharted territory when the coolest set of action figures ever turn out to be dangerously delusional. It's all up to Trixie and the Triceratop if the gang hopes to return to Bonnie's room in this Toy Story That Time Forgot. Returns the cast of Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Kristen Schaal, Kevin McKidd, Wallace Shawn, Timothy Dalton, Don Rickles, and Joan Cusack. That's it for tonight's show. This has been Season 2, Episode 3 of Secret City Geek Lab. Call us at 755-591-8170 for comments. And until next time, and visit us at secretcitycomedy.com, the Geek Lab. Until next time, have a geek week.